Happy Thursday, everyone. Don't think that something's wrong with today's video because you don't see me. My camera is acting weird tonight, so I'm not really sure why it's not working, but it is recording, so that is good. So today you will be taking your Outsiders final today. And remember, you are free to use any text that you want, any chapter responses, or any notes that you have taken as a resource for today's test. And a little note for you. I know we've been talking about missing assignments and late work recently, and I just wanted you to know that you have until the end of next week to turn in all missing work. So don't think that you have till the end of the school year. You have till the end of next week to get everything turned in. So make that a priority during your workday tomorrow. Before we start today's test, let's do a quick review of what's been going on at the end of our story. So we talked about these in class as we read chapter 12, and I want you to actually jot down some notes to each of these 4 questions. This will help you for today's quiz. I'm not actually going to tell you the answers to these questions because you should have known this. And so this is part of your preparation for the quiz. And if you don't know how to answer these questions, then I want you to go find these answers before you start today's quiz to be very prepared. So I want you to think through these 4 questions. Number 1, what does Johnny mean to stay gold? Think about what those words mean, how they tie back to Robert Frost and his poem, Nothing Gold Can Stay. 2, why does Pony keep saying that he killed Bob? We talked about this in class, that he's saying a lot of things that don't make sense. What's going on physically and mentally to him in this moment that's making him say things that are kind of nonsensical? 3, what is happening with Pony's family? Think about what things are stressing them out. Think about what things are pulling them together. Think about what big moments took place in chapters 11 and 12. And 4, what theme or lesson do you think is the strongest at the end of the book and why? So take a few moments and think about the answers to these questions. And if you know how to answer all 4 of these questions, think of this as being very prepared for today's final. If you know half of these questions, I would say you're almost there. You need to maybe think through a couple of these questions before you start your quiz. And then if you don't know any of these answers, that probably means you haven't done your chapter responses, or you haven't been paying attention in class, or maybe you just forgot to read a chapter. So I would recommend doing that before you start today's final. Well, let's just review kind of some common things we've talked about in class for a minute before you start today's assessment. So remember, we've talked a lot about central ideas and themes, and these help us understand the meaning of what we're reading. The term central idea is also used in relation to literary texts like The Outsiders, though in a different way than when we read informational texts. The central idea of a literary work is what the text is mainly about. It's kind of the main idea. And we can determine it by paying attention to the details of key literary elements like topic, setting, characters, and plot. And once we've determined the central idea, usually then we're able to identify the theme. And the theme of a text is the big picture message that the author wants to convey. Sometimes it's the lesson that the main character learns. So if we think back to chapter 4, a central idea is that Johnny's friendship is stronger than his fear of the Socs, and we see that play out through the fight. Now, when we're finding the theme of a text, we have to ask ourselves, what is the message? The reason we seek out key details and attempt to understand their meanings, of course, is that only by recognizing and understanding these elements, we can understand the theme or lesson of a story. Because also the theme is an important story element, it seldom is explicitly stated, so it's never going to be directly stated in the text. We have to infer the theme based off of evidence in the story. When we determine a story's theme, we need to consider the story as a whole from start to finish. The way to determine a story's theme is to ask, what overall message does the author want to convey through the story? When we're unlocking a theme, some things for us to think about are, first, we need to think about the topic. Remember, a topic is 1 to 2 words and it's very general. Then we need to think about the character's motivations, actions, and choices. What does the character do in the story? And then remember that topic is what is being talked about, and themes is what is being said about that topic, what the author has noticed about life, people, or the world. And then finally, put the story's topic and characters' actions together in order to determine the theme. So if we think back to chapter 4, the same chapter we just talked about, a theme of chapter 4 is that self-sacrifice is honorable, which we see when Johnny tries to save them, when Dally helps them out, and when Johnny lets Pony fall asleep on his shoulder. So let's break down your final for a second. Let's just make sure we're putting ourselves in the best position to understand these questions. So question 1 has 2 parts. Part A is to select the statement that best expresses the central idea from Johnny's letter. So I have actually attached Johnny's letter to the text to your assignment for today. And I want you to reread Johnny's letter in the quiz pages. This is the last page that is attached. And then look through the answers and think about what the central idea or main point of his letter is. And then part B, you're going to pick one answer for part A and then pick the 2 best pieces of evidence to support it for B. So part A, you're picking one answer. Part B, you're picking 2 answers. And it's going to match whatever you put for part A. Question number 2 has multiple parts to it. What you're going to do is first read the definitions that go along with the word vacuum. Then you are going to read the sentence from the book that vacuum is used in. And you are going to use context clues to figure out which of these 4 definitions is being used for the word vacuum in this sentence. And you're going to mark it on your test. Then you're going to write your own sentence using the word vacuum that's using that same definition. And then finally, your last question again has 2 parts to it. You're going to reread the pages that I have attached, and that's going to be the first 4 pages in today's text. And you're going to highlight the statement that best expresses the theme in the text excerpt. You're going to tell me what you think the message or lesson is of that section. Then for part B, you are going to use the information from the excerpt and then give evidence and reasoning to support your answer in part A. And you're going to include at least 2 details from the story and explain how they support your answer. So a good way to write your answer for this one would be using CERER. All right, well, good luck on your quiz. I believe in you, and just think this is one of your last things you have to do for The Outsiders. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. Make sure to submit the test before the end of the day. Thanks, everyone.